Captain Marcus Vale stood frozen in the doorway of the nursery, his hand still gripping the polished brass handle. The room was silent except for the soft breathing of the two sleeping children. Princess Elena, age 4, lay curled beneath her embroidered blanket. Prince Thomas, barely 2 years old, slept in his crib across the room. Everything looked normal, peaceful, safe. But Marcus knew better. His eyes locked on the small black device tucked behind the curtain rod above Elena's bed. It was no bigger than a coin, barely visible in the dim glow of the nightlight. A microphone. Professional grade. Someone had been listening to these children. Someone had access to the most protected wing of the palace, and Marcus had almost missed it. His pulse hammered in his ears. How long had it been there? Days? Weeks? What had they heard? He thought of every conversation, every vulnerable moment, every secret whispered in this room by Nanny's tutors. Even the Queen herself during bedtime stories. All of it recorded. All of it sent somewhere he couldn't see. Marcus backed out of the room slowly, careful not to wake the children. His mind raced through protocol, through training, through every security measure they'd implemented over the past 5 years. None of it mattered now. Someone had broken through. Someone was inside their circle. He pulled the door shut with a soft click and pressed his back against the wall in the corridor. The marble felt cold through his uniform. His breath came shallow and quick. Think, Marcus. Think. If you're watching this story, make sure you're subscribed. You won't believe what happens next. Marcus's hand moved to the radio clipped to his belt, then stopped. If there was one microphone, there could be more. Radios could be compromised. Phones could be tapped. He couldn't trust any device. He couldn't even trust his own team yet. Whoever planted that microphone had clearance, access, knowledge of rotations and blind spots. It was an inside job. Marcus pushed off the wall and walked with forced calm down the corridor. His boots made no sound on the polished floor. He'd trained for hostage situations, assassination attempts, armed intruders, but this was different. This was invisible. This was betrayal from within, and it cut deeper than any blade. He turned the corner and nearly collided with Lieutenant Sarah Chen, one of his most trusted officers. She steadied herself and gave him a quick smile. "Evening, Captain." "All quiet?" Marcus studied her face. Sarah had been with the Royal Guard for 3 years. She was competent, loyal, decorated. She also had access to every room in the palace, including the nursery. His chest tightened. "All quiet," he replied, his voice steady despite the storm in his head. "Carry on." She nodded and continued her patrol. Marcus watched her go, memorizing the way she moved, the way she'd looked at him. Was there hesitation? Guilt? Or was he just paranoid now, seeing threats in every shadow? He reached his office and locked the door behind him. The room felt smaller than usual, the walls pressing in. Marcus pulled open his desk drawer and retrieved a secured phone, one of only 3 in the entire palace. Encrypted and checked daily. He dialed a number he'd hoped never to use. It rang once, twice. Vale. The voice on the other end was sharp, alert despite the late hour. "Director Hartman, Head of Royal Intelligence." "Sir, we have a situation." Marcus kept his voice low. "I need a sweep team. Discreet, and I need them now." There was a pause. "What kind of situation?" Marcus closed his eyes. "The kind that means someone's been listening to the royal children. The kind that means we have a traitor." The line went silent for 3 long seconds. "Don't move anything. Don't tell anyone. I'm sending a team within the hour." Hartman's voice had shifted from alert to lethal. "Marcus, until we know who did this, trust no one. Do you understand?" "No one." The call ended. Marcus set the phone down and stared at the wall. Pictures hung their ceremonies, medals, the king shaking his hand after Marcus had stopped an intruder 2 years ago. He'd given everything to this position. His marriage had ended because of the hours, the stress, the secrets. He had no life outside these walls, and now those walls had been breached. He thought of Alina and Thomas sleeping peacefully, unaware that someone had been stealing their innocence, their privacy, their childhood. Rage burned in his chest, hot and righteous. Whoever did this would pay. But first Marcus had to figure out who they were, and he had less than 60 minutes before the sweep team arrived, before word spread. Before the traitor realized they'd been discovered, the clock on his desk ticked forward. Marcus stood, straightened his uniform, and walked back into the corridor. The hunt had begun. Marcus moved through the palace like a ghost, his eyes scanning every corner, every face, every detail he'd overlooked before. The night shift was minimal, only 8 guards on duty across the entire East Wing. Any one of them could be the traitor, or maybe it was someone else entirely. A maid, a cook, a tutor. The list felt endless. He checked his watch. 43 minutes until the sweep team arrived. The nursery corridor was empty now. Marcus approached the door again, but this time he noticed something he'd missed before. A scuff mark on the doorframe, fresh at shoulder height. Someone had leaned here recently, perhaps while working on the door lock or hinges. He crouched down. There on the marble floor, single dark fiber, synthetic. Not from any palace uniform he recognized. He carefully lifted it with a tissue, and he tucked it into his pocket. Evidence. Small. But something. Marcus straightened and continued down the hall. He passed the portrait gallery, where paintings of past monarchs stared down with solemn faces. His footsteps echoed. Somewhere in the distance, a door closed. He froze, listening. Nothing. Just the old palace settling. He reached the staff entrance to the nursery. Wing, a door most people forgot existed. It was locked, but Marcus had the master key. He slipped inside and found himself in a narrow service corridor. Dim bulbs cast weak yellow light. This was where maids and cleaners moved unseen, carrying linens and supplies, and it was the perfect place to move unseen for darker purposes. Marcus walked slowly, examining every door, every vent, every access point. Halfway down, he found it. A small panel in the wall, slightly ajar. A maintenance hatch that should have been sealed. He pulled it open. Inside was a mess of wires and cables. The palace is ancient. Electrical system mixed with modern security lines. But there was something else. A small receiver box, no bigger than a pack of cards, attached to one of the cables. A transmitter. Whoever planted the microphone had been sending the audio feed through the palace's own wiring. Marcus's jaw clenched. This wasn't amateur work. This was planned, technical, professional, the kind of operation that required time, skill, and inside knowledge. He left the panel open and continued down the corridor. At the end, a door led to the staff break room. Light spilled from the crack beneath it. Someone was inside. Marcus's hand moved to his sidearm, then hesitated. He couldn't go in armed, not without knowing who was there or what they were doing. He needed to play this carefully. He pushed the door open casually, as if he was just making rounds. Inside, a woman sat at the small table, cup of tea steaming in front of her. Margaret Foster, head nanny. She'd been with the royal family for 12 years, long before Marcus had even joined the guard. She looked up surprised. "Captain Vale, you startled me." Her voice was warm, grandmotherly. She smiled, but there was something in her eyes. Fatigue, maybe, or fear. "Just checking the wing, Margaret." "Can't sleep?" She shook her head and wrapped her hands around her cup. "I never sleep well anymore. Too much on my mind, I suppose. The children are growing so fast. Alina starts formal lessons next month. It all feels like yesterday she was Thomas's age." Marcus watched her carefully. Margaret had access to the nursery at all hours. She knew the children's routines better than anyone. She also knew when the guards changed shifts, when the corridors were empty. "You've been here a long time," Marcus said, sitting across from her. "You've seen a lot. Too much, perhaps." She took a sip of tea. "The palace isn't what it used to be. There are more cameras now, more security. But somehow it feels less safe." Marcus leaned forward slightly. "What do you mean?" Margaret hesitated. Her fingers tightened around the cup. Just a feeling, like someone's always watching. Even in the quiet moments, she looked up at him, and for a second, Marcus saw genuine fear. Do you ever feel that, Captain? His pulse quickened. Was she confessing? Warning him? Or testing him? Sometimes, he said carefully. But that's why we're here. To keep everyone safe? Asterisk. She nodded slowly, but didn't look convinced. I hope so. Those children, they're everything. If anything happened to them... Her voice trailed off. She stood suddenly, dumping the rest of her tea in the sink. I should get back. Early morning tomorrow. Margaret. Marcus stood as well. If you ever see anything unusual, anything that doesn't feel right, you come to me. Directly understand. She met his eyes. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she nodded. I will, Captain. Asterisk, she left the room, and Marcus stood alone in the dim light. His radio crackled softly. He glanced down. A message from Hartman. Sweep team 10 minutes out. South entrance. Stay clear. Marcus turned off the radio and checked his watch. He needed to get back to his office, coordinate the sweep without raising alarms. But something Margaret said stuck with him, like someone's always watching. She knew, maybe not everything, but she knew something. Marcus left the break room and headed back through the service corridor. As he passed the open maintenance hatch, he heard it. A soft click, then another. Footsteps. Someone was in the corridor with him. He pressed himself against the wall and waited. The footsteps came closer, deliberate, unhurried. A shadow stretched across the floor. Lieutenant Chen rounded the corner. She stopped when she saw him, her hand moving instinctively to her weapon. Captain. What are you doing down here? Marcus kept his expression neutral. Could ask you the same thing, Lieutenant. Routine patrol? I saw the service door open and came to check it. She glanced at the open maintenance hatch, then back at him. Is everything all right? Everything's fine. Marcus stepped away from the wall. Just conducting my own check. The nursery wings? Been on my mind tonight. Chen nodded slowly. Mine too. I've been thinking about the new security protocols. The king wants us to tighten access starting next week. Right. Marcus watched her face. Did you check that hatch? Not yet. Should one? I already did. All clear. They stood in the narrow corridor, two guards studying each other in the dim light. Chen's expression was unreadable. Professional. Controlled. I should finish my rounds, she said finally. Go ahead. I'm heading back to my office. She nodded and walked past him, her footsteps fading down the corridor. Marcus waited until she was gone, then moved quickly toward the south entrance. The sweep team would be here any moment. And when they started pulling microphones and transmitters from the walls, whoever planted them would know the game was over. They'd either run or strike. The sweep team arrived in an unmarked van, 4 specialists dressed in maintenance uniforms. To anyone watching, they were just overnight repair workers fixing electrical issues. Marcus met them at the south entrance, away from security cameras. Captain Vale. The team leader, a woman named Reeves, shook his hand firmly. Director Hartman briefed us. Where do we start? Nursery wing. I found one microphone behind a curtain rod and a transmitter in the maintenance corridor. Marcus handed her a rough sketch of the layout. But I'm guessing there's more. Reeves studied the sketch. If they went to this much trouble, they wouldn't stop at one room. We'll scan the entire wing. Every room, every corridor, every vent. How long? 3 hours. Maybe 4. Marcus shook his head. We don't have that long. Whoever did this will notice if the power flickers or if we're moving through the wing. We need to be fast and invisible. Reeves looked at her team, then back at Marcus. We can do 2 hours, but we might miss something. 2 hours. Go. The team moved silently through the palace, their equipment disguised in toolboxes and bags. Marcus stayed close, watching the corridors, tracking every guard, every staff member who passed by. His radio remained off. If someone was monitoring communications, he couldn't risk it. The team started in the nursery. Reeves pulled the microphone from behind the curtain rod and bagged it without a word. Then she ran a scanner across the walls, the ceiling, the furniture. The device in her hand blinked red 3 times. "We've got 3 more," she whispered. 1 in the vent above the crib, 1 inside the toy chest, 1 behind the bookshelf. Marcus felt his stomach turn. They'd been listening to everything. Every word, every laugh, every bedtime story. "Pull them all," he said quietly. The team worked quickly, efficiently. Within 20 minutes, they'd cleared the nursery and moved to the adjacent playroom. More microphones. Then the tutoring room. Then the nanny's quarters, 10 devices total. All professional grade. All connected to the same transmitter network. Reeves emerged from the maintenance corridor, her face grim. "Captain, you need to see this." Marcus followed her to the open hatch. She pointed to the transmitter he'd found earlier. "This is military hardware," she said. "The kind used by intelligence agencies. Whoever installed this had training. Serious training. Can you trace it?" "Already on it. The signal's being routed through multiple relays, but we can backtrack it. Might take a few hours." She paused. "Captain, there's something else. This transmitter has been active for 3 weeks. Maybe longer. They've been listening for a while. 3 weeks." Marcus thought back through the past month. What had happened? What conversations had taken place in that nursery? The Queen had been there last Tuesday, discussing Prince Thomas's health concerns with the doctor. The King had visited Friday evening, talking about security threats from a neighboring country. Classified information. Private medical details. Strategic discussions, all of it recorded. "Finish the sweep," Marcus said, his voice tight. "I need to make a call." He walked to the nearest secure phone and dialed Hartman again. "Talk to me," Hartman answered. 10 microphones. Military grade. Active for at least 3 weeks. The nursery, playroom, everything. They heard it all. Hartman swore softly. The King and Queen? They've been briefed in those rooms. Medical conversations. Security discussions. All compromised. We need to lock down the palace. No one in or out until we find who did this. Marcus hesitated. "A lockdown will tip them off. They'll know we found the devices. Then what do you suggest?" "Let me narrow the list. I've got 3 suspects so far, people with access and opportunity. Give me until morning. If I can't identify them by then, we lock down." There was a long pause. "You have until 6 a.m., Marcus. After that, this becomes a full investigation, and everyone in that palace gets interrogated. Understood?" "Understood." The call ended. Marcus checked his watch. 3:47 a.m. Just over 2 hours to find a traitor in a palace with 73 staff members and 22 guards. He walked back to the nursery wing. Where Reeves and her team were finishing the sweep, they'd found 2 more devices in the corridor, 1 in a smoke detector, 1 inside a decorative lamp. 12 total, Reeves said. "We've pulled them all. Place is clean now. They disappear. And don't file a report until I give the word." "Copy that." The team packed up and left as quietly as they'd arrived. Marcus stood alone in the nursery, looking at the sleeping children. Alina had rolled onto her side, her small hand tucked under her cheek. Thomas made soft snoring sounds. Neither of them had any idea how close danger had come. Marcus closed the door gently and returned to his office. He pulled out files on every guard and staff member who had access to the nursery wing. 32 names. Too many? He started eliminating. Anyone who'd been on vacation in the past month, anyone who'd only joined in the last 6 months, anyone without the technical knowledge to install surveillance equipment. The list narrowed to 8 names. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, head of night security. 3 years of service, background in military intelligence. Margaret Foster. Head nanny. 12 years of service. No technical training, but unrestricted access. David Cross. Maintenance supervisor. 7 years of service. Former electrician. Access to all maintenance corridors. Emma Laurent. Senior maid. 5 years of service. Cleans the nursery wing daily. 3 other guards. 2 tutors. Marcus studied each file, looking for inconsistencies, red flags, anything that didn't fit. Chen's file was spotless. Perfect record. Almost too perfect. Margaret showed gaps in her employment history from 15 years ago, 6 months unaccounted for. Cross had a sealed juvenile record. Nothing major, but sealed meant hidden. His desk phone rang. Internal line? Vale. Captain, it's Chen. We have a situation in the West Wing. Someone triggered a motion sensor near the archives. I'm checking it now, but I wanted you aware. Marcus's instinct screamed, don't go alone. Wait for backup. It's probably nothing. A rat or a draft. I'll just take a quick look. Chen, that's an order. Wait for backup. There was a pause. Copy that, Captain. The line went dead. Marcus grabbed his sidearm and ran. The archives were on the opposite end of the palace. Past the throne room, through 2 security checkpoints. If someone was creating a distraction, pulling guards away from the nursery wing, this was how they'd do it. He sprinted through empty corridors, his boots echoing on marble. He passed the throne room and nearly collided with David Cross, who was carrying a toolbox. Captain, what's wrong? Marcus barely slowed. Motion sensor in the West Wing. Did you trigger anything? No, sir. I've been working in the basement all night. Boiler issue. Marcus kept running. He reached the archives and found the door open. Inside, the motion sensor light blinked red, active, but the room was empty. Chen was nowhere in sight. Chen, Marcus called out. His voice echoed. No response. He moved through the archives between tall shelves of documents and old records. The smell of dust and old paper filled his nose. At the back of the room, he found another door. Open. It led to a service stairwell. Marcus descended quickly, his weapon drawn. The stairwell spiraled down into darkness. Emergency lights flickered weakly. At the bottom, he found a heavy door marked. Restricted, it was unlocked. Beyond it was a basement corridor he'd never seen before. Old, forgotten, the kind of place that existed on no official map. And at the end of that corridor, he heard voices. Marcus moved along the basement corridor with his back against the cold stone wall. His weapon was steady in his hands. The voices grew clearer as he approached. 2 people, 1 male, 1 female. The female voice was Chen. Can't keep doing this. They're going to find out. Calm down. You've covered our tracks. The male voice was familiar, but Marcus couldn't place it. The devices are gone by now. They have no evidence. They found them. I saw Vale in the service corridor. He knows something. Marcus's chest tightened. Chen. It was Chen.
Yeah.
Then we move up the timeline, the male voice said. Tonight before they can lock down the palace. That wasn't the plan. We need more time. The plan changed the moment they found that microphone. Marcus edged closer to the doorway. Through the crack, he could see Chen standing with her back to him. The man was partially obscured, but Marcus caught a glimpse of a maintenance uniform.
Cross?
What about the captain? Chen asked. Vale's not going to let this go. Vale's loyal to the crown. He'll do whatever it takes to protect those kids. That makes him predictable. Cross stepped into view, and Marcus saw him clearly now. The maintenance supervisor. The man with access to every room, every corridor, every locked door in the palace. When the time comes, he'll die protecting them. That's what good soldiers do. Chen said nothing. Marcus could see the tension in her shoulders. Are you with me or not? Cross pressed, because if you're not, you're a liability. Chen turned slightly, and Marcus saw her profile. She looked exhausted, conflicted. I'm with you, I didn't think it would get this messy. It's always messy. That's the job. Marcus had heard enough. He stepped into the doorway, weapon raised. Don't move. Both of them froze. Chen's hand moved toward her sidearm, but Marcus's voice stopped her. Don't even think about it, Lieutenant. Hands where I can see them. Both of you. Cross raised his hands slowly, a thin smile on his face. Captain Vale, I was wondering when you'd show up. On your knees now, Cross complied, but there was no fear in his movements. Chen hesitated, her eyes meeting Marcus's. There was something there, regret maybe, or calculation. Chen, don't make this worse than it already is, Marcus said. Get on your knees, hands behind your head. She obeyed slowly, her movements mechanical. Marcus approached, keeping his weapon trained on both of them. Who are you working for? Marcus demanded. Cross laughed softly. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. It's the same people you're trying to protect, just a different branch. Marcus's jaw clenched. Intelligence? Bingo! We're not the bad guys, Captain. We're just doing what needs to be done. Spying on children? Planting illegal surveillance in the royal palace? Protecting national security? Cross said calmly. Those children are the future of this country. We need to know everything about them. Who they talk to, what they say, how they think. The king and queen are compromised, too soft, too trusting. Someone needs to make the hard decisions. You're insane. I'm practical. Cross shifted slightly, and Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. Easy, Captain. I'm not armed. Check for yourself. Marcus didn't move. Chen, who authorized this? Chen's voice was barely a whisper. No one. It's a rogue operation. Rogue, Marcus looked at Cross. You're telling me you did this on your own? Not alone. There are others. No. People in positions of power who understand what's at stake. Cross's smile widened. People you'd never suspect. A sound echoed from the corridor behind Marcus. Footsteps. Multiple people. Marcus's blood ran cold. He glanced back, and in that split second, Chen moved. She lunged forward. Not toward her weapon, but toward Marcus. She hit him hard, knocking him off balance. His gun went off, the shot wild, ricocheting off stone walls. Run! Chen shouted. Cross bolted through a side door. Marcus struggled with Chen, trying to restrain her without hurting her. She was strong, trained, desperate. They crashed against the wall, and Marcus's weapon skidded across the floor. Chen, stop. But she didn't. She broke free and ran after Cross, disappearing through the same door. Marcus scrambled for his weapon and gave chase. The side door led to another tunnel, narrow and dark. He could hear them ahead, their footsteps echoing. He ran blind, one hand on the wall for guidance. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber. Old storage. Forgotten furniture covered in dust. Marcus burst through and found himself surrounded. 6 figures, all armed. All wearing balaclavas. Cross stood in the center, no longer smiling. Chen was beside him, her weapon now drawn and aimed at Marcus. I'm sorry, Captain, she said. I really am. Marcus raised his hand slowly, his mind racing. You don't have to do this. Whatever they promised you, it's not worth it. It's bigger than promises, one of the masked figures said. The voice was refined, educated. It's about the future of this kingdom. The king is weak. His policies are destroying us. Those children will inherit a broken crown unless we act. So this is a coup. This is survival. Marcus looked at Chen. You swore an oath. To protect the crown. To serve with honor. I know. Her hand trembled slightly. But sometimes honor isn't enough. It's always enough. The refined voice spoke again. Enough talking. We're on a schedule. Restrain him. 2 of the masked figures moved forward. Marcus tensed, calculating his chances. 6 armed opponents in a confined space. No backup, no communication. The odds were impossible. But he'd faced impossible odds before. As the first figure reached for him, Marcus struck. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisted, and used him as a shield. A gunshot rang out, and the man in Marcus's grip grunted in pain. Marcus shoved him forward into the others and dove behind a stack of old crates. Gunfire erupted. Wood splintered. Dust filled the air. Marcus pulled his backup weapon from his ankle holster and returned fire. 2 shots. One of the masked figures went down. The others scattered, seeking cover. Take him alive, a refined voice shouted. We need him alive. Marcus moved through the chaos, using the old furniture as cover. He fired again, aiming for legs, trying to disable without killing. These were still people, however misguided. Some of them might be innocent, coerced. But then he saw Chen lining up a shot. Her weapon aimed directly at him, and he realized innocence had left this room long ago. He fired first. The shot hit Chun's shoulder. She cried out and dropped her weapon. Marcus felt sick, but he didn't stop moving. He reached the far wall and found another door, locked. He shot the lock and kicked it open. Behind him, Cross shouted, "Don't let him escape." Marcus ran through the door and found himself in a maintenance tunnel. Pipes lined the ceiling, water dripped steadily. He could hear them coming after him, multiple footsteps, angry voices. He ran harder, his lungs burning. The tunnel twisted and turned. He had no idea where he was, where it led, if there was even a way out. Then he saw a light ahead, a stairwell. He took the steps 3 at a time, bursting through a door at the top. He was in the palace kitchen, empty at this hour. He ran through it, past steel counters and industrial ovens, and emerged into a service corridor. His radio crackled suddenly. He'd forgotten he'd turned it off. Now someone was trying to reach him. He grabbed it. "Vale here. Captain, it's Hartman. We've got a problem. Someone just tried to access the royal family's quarters. The king's awake. He's asking for you." Marcus's heart sank. "Where's the queen? Where are the children? Still in their rooms?" "We've got guards posted, but Captain, the guard who tried to access the quarters. It was Margaret Foster. Margaret, the nanny." "On my way," Marcus said. He ran toward the royal quarters, praying he wasn't too late. Marcus reached the royal quarters in under 2 minutes. Guards stood at every entrance, weapons drawn. The atmosphere was tense, electric with fear. He found Director Hartman standing outside the king's private study. "Where's Margaret?" Marcus demanded. "Secured in the West Wing." "She's not talking." Hartman studied Marcus's face, noting the dust, the sweat, the exhaustion. "What happened to you?" "Chun's dirty. Cross 2. Part of something bigger." "A rogue operation? Maybe a coup?" "I don't know yet." Marcus caught his breath. They had 6 others with them, armed, professional. They're still in the palace somewhere, probably using the service tunnels. Hartman's expression darkened. 6 hostiles inside the palace. "We need to evacuate the royal family. No, if we move them, we expose them. These people know our protocols." "They'll be waiting," Marcus thought quickly. "We lock down the royal quarters. Nobody in or out. We fortify this position and wait for reinforcements." Reinforcements are 20 minutes out. Can you hold that long?" "I have to." The door to the study opened. The king stepped out, still in his nightclothes, but with the bearing of a man who'd ruled for 20 years. His face was grave. "Captain Vale." "Director Hartman, I want answers now." Marcus straightened. "Your Majesty, we've discovered surveillance devices in the nursery wing. Multiple microphones, professional grade. A group inside the palace has been listening to your family for weeks." The king's jaw tightened. "Who?" "We've identified 3 so far. Lieutenant Chen, David Cross, and Margaret Foster. There are others. They claim they're protecting national security, but this is treason." "Margaret." The king looked stunned. "She's been with us for 12 years. She's like family." "I know, sir, I'm sorry." The queen appeared behind the king, her hand on his shoulder. "The children, are they safe?" "They're still sleeping, Your Majesty. We have guards posted at their doors. But we need to prepare for an assault. An assault." The queen's face went pale. "Here? In the palace?" Marcus nodded. "These people are desperate. They know we've found the devices. They're running out of time and options. If they're going to act, it'll be soon." The king looked at Hartman. "Lockdown protocol. Immediately." Hartman pulled out his radio and gave the order. Throughout the palace, steel shutters began lowering over windows. Doors locked automatically. Escape routes sealed. The palace had become a fortress. But fortresses could also become traps. Marcus positioned guards at key choke points: the main corridor, the service entrance, the stairwell. He knew the layout better than anyone. Every weakness, every blind spot. If they were coming, he'd make them pay for every step. Minutes passed. The silence was suffocating. Marcus stood outside the nursery, his weapon ready. Inside, Alina and Thomas still slept, unaware of the danger closing in around them. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in dim red. Marcus's radio crackled. "Captain, they've cut main power. Backup generators online, but security systems are compromised. Hold positions," Marcus ordered. "Stay sharp." He heard it then. Footsteps. Multiple sets, moving through the service corridor behind him. They were coming from below, using the same tunnels he'd escaped through. Marcus pressed his back against the wall. Through the red haze, he saw shadows moving. 6 figures. Maybe more. They were spreading out, trying to surround the royal quarters. "Contact," Marcus whispered into his radio. "South corridor. Multiple hostiles." Gunfire erupted. The emergency lights shattered, plunging the corridor into near darkness. Marcus returned fire, aiming at muzzle flashes. Someone screamed. Someone else cursed. Guards emerged from other positions, joining the fight. The corridor became a war zone, bullets tearing through plaster and wood. Marcus moved through the chaos with practiced efficiency, covering angles, protecting the nursery door. A figure emerged from the smoke. Cross. He had a rifle now, military grade. He aimed it at Marcus. "You should have stayed out of this, Captain." Marcus fired first. The shot hit Cross in the leg. He went down hard, his rifle clattering away. Marcus kicked it aside and pressed his weapon to Cross's head. "How many more?" Marcus demanded. Cross laughed, blood on his teeth. "Enough. This doesn't end with me. Tell me who's leading this." "Who's the voice giving orders?" "Someone you'd never suspect. Someone close to the king. Someone who another shot rang out." Cross's head snapped back. He went limp. Marcus spun around. In the shadows, he saw a figure lowering a weapon. They turned and ran before he could identify them. Damn it. Marcus checked Cross's pulse. Nothing. Dead. And with him answers. The gunfire had stopped. The corridor fell silent, except for the ringing in Marcus's ears. He counted 3 hostiles down, including Cross. The others had retreated. His radio crackled. "Captain, we've got wounded. 2 guards down, 1 critical. We need medical. Secure the area first. I want every tunnel entrance sealed. Nobody leaves this palace." Marcus stood and moved back to the nursery door. He pushed it open carefully. Alina and Thomas were awake now, crying, terrified by the noise. Margaret Foster sat between their beds, her hands bound behind her back, a guard standing over her. The sight of her there, with those frightened children, made Marcus's blood boil. "Get her out of here," he told the guard. "Captain, she insisted she needed to see them. She said she had information." Marcus looked at Margaret. Her face was wet with tears. "I never wanted this," she whispered. "You have to believe me. I never wanted them hurt. Then why?" Marcus demanded. "Why help them? Why betray these children?" "They have my daughter," Margaret's voice broke. "They took her 3 months ago. They said if I didn't cooperate, they'd kill her. I had to protect my baby. I had to." Marcus felt something crack inside him. Who took her? I don't know. I never saw their faces. They contacted me through encrypted messages. They told me where to place the microphones, when to grant access. I never knew what they were planning. "I swear," Alina called out from her bed, her small voice trembling. "Maggie, why are you crying?" Margaret looked at the little girl, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry." Marcus pulled Margaret to her feet. "Where's your daughter now?" "I don't know. They move her every few days. The last message said she was safe, but I haven't heard from them since yesterday. I'm so scared. Please, Captain, if you find them, save my girl. She's only 16. She's innocent." Marcus handed her to the guard. "Take her to holding. Keep her separated from the others." As Margaret was led away, Marcus knelt beside Elena's bed. "Hey there, princess. You okay?" Alina nodded, wiping her eyes. There were loud noises. "But you're safe now. I promise." Thomas had stopped crying, his little fists clenched around his blanket. Marcus reached over and gently touched his head. "Your brave little prince. Just like your father?" The king appeared in the doorway, the queen beside him. They rushed to their children, gathering them close. The queen looked at Marcus, gratitude and fear warring in her eyes. "Thank you, Captain. We're not done yet, Your Majesty. There are still hostiles in the palace, and whoever's leading them is still out there." Hartman's voice came through the radio. "Captain, reinforcements have arrived. We're sweeping the tunnels now. But we found something you need to see." "What is it?" "Chen's alive, and she's asking for you." Marcus found Chen in the palace medical bay, her shoulder bandaged, her wrists secured to the bed frame. 2 armed guards stood watch. She looked up when Marcus entered, her face pale, but her eyes clear. "Captain," her voice was steady, "I knew you'd come." Marcus pulled a chair close and sat down. "Why am I here, Chen? What do you want?" "To tell you the truth, before they silence me." "Who's they?" Chen glanced at the guards. "Can we have a moment alone?" "No." Marcus leaned forward. "Whatever you have to say, you say it now. With witnesses." She nodded slowly. "Fair enough. You deserve to know what you're really up against." She took a breath. "This operation goes deeper than you think. It's not just a few rogue agents. It's institutional. People in intelligence, in government, in the military. They've been planning this for years." "Planning what? A coup? A correction?" Chun's eyes met his. "The king is a good man, Marcus. You know that. But he's weak on defense, weak on borders, weak on making the hard calls. His children will inherit those weaknesses. The people behind this operation believe the kingdom needs stronger leadership. Leaders who will make tough decisions, who will prioritize security over sentiment. So they bug the royal children, threaten a nanny's daughter, murder anyone who gets in their way. It's not that simple. It never is." Marcus's voice was cold. "Who's leading this, Chen? Give me a name." Chen hesitated. "If I tell you, my life is over." "They have people everywhere. In this palace, in the guard, in places you'd never suspect. Your life is already over. You committed treason. You aimed a weapon at me. At best, you're looking at life in prison. At worst, execution." Marcus softened his tone slightly. "But if you cooperate, if you help us stop this, maybe there's mercy. Maybe there's a chance you get to live." Chen closed her eyes. When she opened them again, there were tears. "I didn't want any of this. They recruited me 2 years ago, said it was a special security initiative. By the time I realized what it really was, I was in too deep. They had evidence against me. Fabricated, but it didn't matter. They could destroy me with a single leak." "Who recruited you?" "His name is Colonel Marcus Reed. He runs a Black Ops division within military intelligence. Officially, his unit doesn't exist. Unofficially, they handle operations that are too sensitive, too morally gray for regular channels." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "Reed. I've heard that name." "You should have. He was decorated 3 times for operations overseas. The king trusts him. Everyone trusts him." Chen's voice dropped to a whisper. "He's been in the palace twice this month, meeting with the king's advisors, and last week he was here for a security briefing." The pieces clicked into place in Marcus's mind. He had access, complete access. He could walk through this palace and nobody would question him. That's how Cross got the equipment in. Reed provided it. He also provided the technical support, the encryption, the relays. This was a military-grade operation from the start.
What's the end game?
What were they planning? Chen's face went dark. "I don't know the full plan. Only fragments. But I heard them talking about Phase 2. Something about a public incident that would justify a change in leadership. Something that would turn the people against the king. An assassination attempt." "I don't think so. If they killed the king, they'd create a martyr. They need him discredited, humiliated, proven unfit to rule. Then they can remove him legally, constitutionally. No blood, no revolution. Just a quiet transfer of power." Marcus stood, his mind racing. the children. The surveillance was about finding leverage. Conversations they could use, secrets they could expose. Probably. Or maybe they were looking for something worse. A scandal involving the children. Something that would destroy the king's reputation as a father and leader.